So, quite belatedly, but let's talk about the Champions League game the other night. Liverpool versus Napoli. Big game, big game, and we did the business. Okay, we didn't scrape it. We scraped qualification. We did. We scraped into the knockouts, but we didn't scrape the game, if you know what I mean. We didn't scrape that game. It could have been way tougher than it was. If Napoli scored at any point in that game, we would have needed two clear goals. So to win the game 1-0 in what was a high pressure game, Mohamed Salah scores a really, really nice goal, a really good goal. And then defensively, goalkeeper, obviously, we're going to come on to Alisson later. Midfield did very, very well. And I wrote off that midfield if we were going to choose it, which we did. Obviously, the Henderson, Milner, Wijnaldum triumvirate. And if we went with that midfield, I felt that we were going to get overrun. I felt that we didn't have enough creativity in there, and maybe the creative aspect was a little bit, less than you would get with Shaqiri in there. But they drove forward. They drove the team forward. Everything that they seemed to do was about getting the ball and moving it forward to our attackers, who had really good games individually. While Salah was the only goal scorer, they each had very, very good games. Sadio Mane could have scored a hat-trick himself. He could have scored so many goals in that game. But at the end of the day, we're not ruining those missed chances because we eventually made it through into the knockouts. It's quite something. It's exactly what I wanted, though. Obviously, we want to progress in the Champions League if we can, but the biggest obstacle would have been avoiding the Europa League. The Europa League could have done so many different things. The Europa League playing on a Thursday night seems to do things to Premier League teams where, and I'm not sure, I can't say about other leagues, but I'm saying about Premier League because obviously I know it. The Europa League seems to do things that it hinders your league position, your Premier League position. It's for some reason it hinders your ability to progress or make progress in like higher up in the league. Because if you're challenging for the Premier League, you're normally in the Champions League. So when you see teams in the Europa League, they don't always perform very well in the league. Maybe, the only anomaly to that this season would be Chelsea, Arsenal to an extent, but I'm not entirely sure. Arsenal I think are still sat in fifth position at the moment. Chelsea are in a healthy position, but I can't remember where. Maybe fourth or third. I can't remember in the league. But as the competition gets further along, and you get the FA Cup and stuff like that coming in, the Capital One Cup for those that are still in it will come back in, and the Premier League as well. I think it gets on top of teams. It does. When we went to the final ourselves, I think we finished eighth or something in the league. I can't actually remember where we finished in the league. So when we went there, we finished, low down in the league, lower than we would expect to, or lower than we would want to, shall we say. Man United win the Europa League. They finished sixth in the league, but they got in the Champions League the next season, which is what they wanted, which is what you can get. But you really have to focus on that competition, in my opinion. I'm just so glad that we avoided it. We came through the Napoli game with a hell of a degree of professionalism of how we dealt with that game. Dealt with it so well. We dealt with it really, really well. Koulibaly was probably their best player on the pitch that night. He was an imperious defender. He was everywhere. It was almost like he was a one-man defender at one point, and he was doing so well. And he got caught out by Salah. Salah used a little bit of footwork, trickery, got past him, weak foot, slotted it home. Very, very good goal. And we created chances. We did end up getting in behind them, but they were exposing themselves, Napoli, more than we were exposing them. They were overcommitting sometimes. That one-on-one that Mane misses near the end of the match, and the defender tries an audacious slide tackle, which was never going to get anywhere near Mane. They panicked in some situations. They did not know how to deal with our front three. They didn't know how to deal with our attackers. Our midfielders were brilliant. There was obviously a spell in the game where Napoli did look like they may make a breakthrough, but not until the last 5 minutes or so did we really get a threat from Napoli. And that threat came from a substitute, Arcadius Milik, I think his name is. Um, a ball is floated into the box. You'll all know it by now. You'll all have seen every single meme, GIF, video, ones with the Titanic music on it and everything like that. Ball comes into the box and it clips off Fabinho's head, if I remember rightly. Lovren doesn't get anywhere near the ball. It drops to Milik, but he can't hit it first time. So it goes in front of him a little bit, and point blank, you can say what you want, I don't care. Yes, he shot it at the goalkeeper, but he hit that ball with power, and normally you'd expect that to go in the back of the net, which is exactly what I was expecting. Watching it live, I'm thinking that's going in the back of the net. That's hitting the back of the net. And Alisson, it hits his thigh, hits his outstretched glove as well, and it goes up in the air. He tries a bicycle, Milik tries a bicycle kick, doesn't come off, and we clear. That was better than scoring a second goal. It really was. That gave me goosebumps watching that. It really did, because it actually made me believe we were going to ride out this game and we were going to see it out. I got really nervous. We scored the first goal and then we didn't score any others, and that nervousness creeps in. 70th minute, 80th minute, 85 minutes is coming up. They get a chance like that. And because they didn't take that chance, the wind seemed to go out of their sails a little bit. They didn't make the most of it. We made a world-class save with a world-class goalkeeper and then dealt with the rest of the game. And we created our own chances as well. So we've dealt with it really well. We've come out of it. Napoli started that game. They started their evening, top of our group. And they're out. It's unbelievable how tight our group was. Obviously, PSG, I think we're going to go through regardless. They would have gone to, the only way they wouldn't have gone through is if they didn't beat Red Star, and they beat them handily 4-1. So PSG were always going to go through in my mind. I always had it in my mind, PSG will be the ones going through in this group. It's just up to Liverpool or Napoli who else goes through. Thankfully, it was us. And I'm so glad that it was us as well. We now move on to the next stage of the competition. And I think because we finished second in our group to PSG, we finished second, so I think we are up for facing a group winner, which brings about the likes of FC Porto we faced before, but I think they're maybe a little bit of a different animal now. I think they had a really good qualifying campaign. I can't remember who else. So if it's a group winner, you could be looking at Dortmund, I think, Real Madrid. I'd love Real Madrid, Juventus. At the moment, though, I honest to God, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I honest to God don't care who we come up against. I don't. I really don't. Over 2 legs we showed last year. We didn't have the best qualification process from the groups last year either. Yes, we smashed Maribor. We gave them a hell of a beating in both games that we played them. And we had an easier group last year, and even then, we made hard work of it early on. We haven't had an easy group stage this time along. But we showed over 2 legs in the Champions League, in the knockouts, quarters, semis, getting all the way to the final. We've shown we can compete. We can compete and we can go out and do it. We can go and win. I don't care who we come up against. I really don't. Honest to God, I don't. I really don't. I'm excited to see who we do come up against, though. If we get someone like an FC Porto, great. That's cool. But we can't underestimate the opponent. Now, if we come up against like a Real Madrid, we won't underestimate the opponent, but we will know that they have their weaknesses this year. They have a lot more weaknesses than they showed last year. I don't know what has happened to Real Madrid. I mean, they got beat 3-0 at home against CSK Moscow. I know they had a much changed side in some respects, but they also had some first teamers in there as well that should have been able to deal with Moscow, but they didn't. And I think that they could be there. That they could be a big scalp. Then you've got the likes of Juventus as well. I'd love to. I'd honestly, I could go through all the teams because I couldn't actually because I can't remember who's actually the ones that we could face. All I'm saying is we should be ready to face anybody, and I don't fear any team. So Champions League, I'm loving it right now. I'm so glad we made that progress. So glad we don't have to go into the Europa League. Now we can fully focus on Man United at the weekend. There'll be a separate video coming up. That'll be coming up tomorrow. I'm going to record that now, but it'll be coming out tomorrow as a preview. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have liked it, please do hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you ever so much for watching. As always, get your comments in, and I'll catch you later.